We are getting a ton of questions about how to travel on planes and other, trains, ships, cars, how to take trips with kids with autism, toddlers showing signs, and even typically developing toddlers. So today we are covering this important topic. So welcome back. I have Rachel Smith, our program director here, who recently traveled with her two young sons. And so I thought she'd be great to actually talk about some of the things she brought on the plane. If you're watching on video, she's going to be holding up some things and describing it for people that are listening. We are getting an increase in conversations in our closed Facebook community, the toddler course mostly, with, how do I take a plane ride and what am I going to do to keep my child busy? So we did cover that in our group coaching. We had a lot of people giving tips and tricks, and Jane just recently posted, after a successful 13-hour flight with a layover with her son, she said, "I was so amazed. He was at his best behavior throughout the flights and stopover. We did activities. He played with his trains, Play-Doh, watched a bit of television, had his meals, did a bit of socializing with fellow passengers, used the toilet successfully twice. Overall, it was a successful journey for just the two of us. So delighted and thankful." So we're going to cover a lot of the tips that we taught Jane before this successful flight. And so Rachel, you just took your boys. Now they are both typically developing, although Everett did have a pretty significant speech delay. We covered that on previous episodes. We can link in the show notes. He also had some problem behavior that we managed to get at or near zero. We can link that in the show notes as well. That's a really good episode. I remember the number of it. That's how good it is. It's marybarbera.com/185 of little Everett, throwing and hitting us, while Rachel was over at my house. And we really managed to get that behavior to zero, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so your kids are now how old, and where did you go, and how long was the plane ride or ride?
Yeah, exactly. So Everett is 4.5, and Ronan, it was the week before his second birthday. And we went from the East Coast, so Pennsylvania, to Cabo, which is the West Coast of Mexico. So we had a layover in Phoenix. So we flew from Philly to Phoenix, which is about 4.5 hours. And then from Phoenix to Cabo was about another 2 hours. And it actually went really well. I was nervous. Ronan is in that like wiggly toddler stage where he doesn't want to sit, he wants to move. Knowing that we had, over 7 hours of flights ahead of us was a little daunting, but I think from this course, the courses and the community, the thing that I've learned the most is to be over prepared. I felt a little silly. I'll actually show you. So we had an entire carry-on bag that was just activities for the boys. And then we had a whole nother bag that was just like snacks. So, but we were successful and got complimented for their behavior on all of the flights that we were on. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And you were traveling with your husband, which is different than Jane here. And Kelsey, our community manager, who's on the podcast a lot, she's a single mom, and we were just talking, and she's traveled quite a bit on planes and other vehicles with her two sons who are both on the spectrum. So, don't discount, Rachel's opinion with two typically developing kids, or, her situation of traveling with another adult. And I mean, it certainly is trickier, but, Jane traveling with one child, or Kelsey traveling with two kids with autism, it is a little bit more difficult for sure. But let's talk about the preparation phase of the trip. So what did you do?
So one thing we knew was we were going to rely a little bit on electronics. So we got little mini iPads during Prime days. So that was just like a way before thought. But we also did a lot of desensitizing with headphones, because we wanted them to wear them, obviously, to not disturb everyone around us. But we also didn't want to just spring it on the day of the flight, like, okay, now you're going to wear these to listen to your show. So we did practice with these. They wore them around the house, would wear them in the car. We'd give them like short little, like a 5-minute video with them on, so they knew that with these they could hear, the iPad.
Yeah.
So that was definitely
Before we go on with the other things, because this is a common question we get, is like, okay, they wore them a couple days before, but like there are some people in the autism community who are like, I have a 12-year-old, they will not wear headphones, or my 2-year-old will not wear hats or headphones or, jackets or whatever. So let's just take a minute to talk about desensitization to things when it isn't just like, okay, wear your headphones, So chapter 13 of Turn Autism Around is a whole chapter on desensitization, which is a really good, quick thing to read and really think about, okay, I want the headphones on, and I have headphones here because I did want to talk about this briefly. So when we've desensitized kids to headphones, we have made it be like a headphone with a cord for an iPad, or a little bit less preferred would be, a music player of some sort, or like a CD player. And I know I'm dating myself, but this is the kind of thing that my son Lucas, who's in his 20s, likes to do. So we do start out usually with a corded, cheap pair. And these are adult size, and Rachel has kid sizes. So like stores like Five Below, or you can get them on Amazon or wherever you buy these kind of things. And of course, headphones like adult size are going to be too big for a 2-year-old. Even if your main goal is to get them to wear noise desensitive, noise reduction headphones, like big headphones that actually really cut off the noise, I still would start probably with a corded headphone that are lighter, that have less pressure on your ears, and that there's some reinforcement that could come through this cord, being music or sound for the videos. So the way we've done it in the past is we've had the video playing, the child at the table, maybe with a therapist, and this child's, the table is very well paired. The materials are very well paired. This is all things we go over extensively in my courses. But then we plug in the headphones, and we don't just put them on the child. We don't want the child screaming, or, if they're crying, you've gone too far. So we plug in the headphones and we turn it up pretty loud so that they can still hear the music through the headphones, a little bit, right? And then I might stand from behind and just hold the headphones directly out from their ears on both sides. So, and that might be too much for kids. So maybe just putting them behind so that they can't see them, but gently and carefully and systematically moving it where the headphones aren't even touching their ears, but they can hear their favorite music and watch their favorite video, right? So I would then, inch it closer if they're tolerating it. If they start like, this is kind of like a dance, and it is very much like you have to. Now I know if they go, and I take the headphones away from their ears, that's reinforcing. But again, I'm trying to prevent full-blown, meltdown. So I'm going to gently do trials, not like, a minute and then the next day another minute. Like I might be working on this for 5 or 10 minutes and maybe doing other things. Okay, now we're going to do the shoebox. Oh, it's video time. Okay, now we're going to hold it up. Maybe even counting 1, 2, 3, where the headphones are actually touching their ears. So systematically desensitizing kids to headphones and other things is super important. And I think, didn't mean to interject on your
Oh, no,
planning.
you're fine.
I think this is a struggle for many families, no matter what age your child should be tolerating headphones, because leisure activities, especially in planes and churches and, where you don't want, the child's videos blaring and disturbing everybody.
Right. I will say they were really helpful too. Like in the bathroom on the plane, the toilet's really loud when it flushes, and Everett doesn't like love loud noises. So it was really helpful to just have him wear them in there, and then he was fine, and he was willing to go to the bathroom when he needed to. The other nice thing was, if he needed a break, he could just take them off, give his ears a break. It wasn't like, no, you have to wear them the whole flight. Give him a break, and then when he was ready, he'd put them back on. So that was nice to have.
Yeah. So how else did you prepare?
So we also bought a lot of, and I packed a lot of snacks. So like little single serve snacks that we had. I also did like Ziploc bags with stuff, because you can pack snacks and go through, TSA or, however you're traveling. You just can't have like liquids or gel. So like applesauce and yogurt, those kind of things were out, but we packed like sandwiches and things that I knew that they would eat. We also made sure that like we didn't like plan meals for like beforehand, because our first flight we had to be at the airport for 3:30 in the morning, so we didn't do breakfast beforehand, but we kind of like inched them along until we were on the plane, and then they ate like their breakfast was part of being on the plane, which took up some time and kept them busy and that kind of stuff. So just kind of thinking ahead of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of single snacks, like I prepackaged snacks that I bought, so that it wasn't like a whole bag of goldfish that they're now arguing over or spilling everywhere. It was very much like systematically done. So that was helpful.
And we were talking yesterday in preparation, and Michelle said that she packed like pre-made formula, and they actually tested it, and then she was like afraid to like give it to her. So and you said the same thing about breast milk, is like they might stick things in it to make sure it's not anything. So if you do formula or whatever, maybe have it the formula in the bottle, but you pour the water in after you get through, and have drink cups, really special drink cups that they love, that you can fill up with water or juice after you board. And or not before you board. After you pass security, you can buy some stuff and
and
use
that's what we did.
Water fillers.
Yeah, that's what we did. We packed water bottles. The boys, I had bought a water bottle like this for myself, like way prior, and the boys really liked it. So we got them each one for the trip. And that was helpful. They just went through security, and then we filled them up afterwards.
Yeah, let's talk about the car seat situation. So I didn't realize this until I was, looking through our group for plane travel. That's another nice thing. We've had people from all over the world in our courses and our community. So there are 2 very active Facebook groups that have a long history, years and years. So the toddler group and the verbal behavior bundle. And so I simply typed in plane travel and got all of the discussions. But I didn't realize, as a mom to adult sons, is that, if you bring a car seat, it needs to be FAA approved. There's also some like harnesses and seatbelt kind of things that you can get on Amazon that can go in the plane. So what did you bring, and like,
so car seats just in general, for us with 2, they're heavy, they're bulky. It's kind of a pain to carry them through the airport, have everything checked. So we have rider safety vests. You can get them on Amazon. You can also get them directly from their website, but they are approved for plane rides, but they're also approved as a car seat in a car. So if you're traveling to a destination where you're going to rent a car or be in someone else's car, that's a really great alternative for safety, which is important.
Yeah.
So
rider safety
vest. Yep. Rider safety vest. Yep.
Okay. And you can Google that, and we can put a link in the show notes too.
Yeah.
And then also before the trip, your kids are 4 and 2. I'm sure you showed them videos of airplanes taking off, read books about it, talked about maybe practiced wearing the safety vests or practiced all of that. Anything?
Yeah, very much like the headphone desensitization that you were talking about. You know, this is a little bit different than how we normally ride in the car. Those kind of things. We just kind of talked through what it looks like and how it would feel. And we practiced and we watched videos, all of the things that you said, just to make sure that they were really prepared. We also talked about like using our quiet voices on the plane and not talking really loud or yelling and those kind of things as well, because when you're on a plane, you are right next to the people next to you. So keeping our feet off of the back of the seat in front of us, those were all things that we talked about too, just so that they knew what to be prepared for.
Yeah. And when you purchase your tickets, you can provide accessibility notes to let them know you're bringing a child with special needs. And one important tip that a bunch of people gave in our community is, they always say, oh, if you have special needs or little kids, you can board first. And that's actually a bad idea, because a lot of times boarding can take like 30 minutes. So there was a lot of advice to, not have a heavy meal, to board last, to let them run around before they got on the plane. Is that what you did?
That's what we did. We were absolutely not the first people on the planes at all, because I was like, we're asking them now to sit for an extra 30 to 40 minutes while we're boarding. And that's eating into plane time, right? So we waited. We were like the last people on every time. My boys are really into, it's called Danny Go. He does like little kid exercise videos on YouTube. We watched a lot of those in the plane, and they were doing like the floor is lava and like getting their wiggles out. And there's like some other kids that would join in with them because their parents were like, oh, that's a good idea. And they were, doing that kind of thing. And so that was really helpful. I would absolutely not recommend being the first person on the plane.
Yeah.
At all.
And a couple people, you and Kelsey, said, really go very low on electronic time before the plane ride, so that they're more interested. And also the other thing is, you have to download episodes like from Netflix, unless you want to pay for Wi-Fi on the plane. So be prepared. I think downloading the episodes you want, that'll be free and then can be played offline. That was a really good tip.
Yeah, that is, because you can download, like if you have a Disney Plus membership, you can download from them. We had things downloaded from a few different streaming services that we didn't let them watch at all. Even if we needed like a few, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes here to like fix dinner, that kind of thing, and they had TV on, it was not anything that was on their iPad that I had already downloaded, so that I knew those would be like high ticket reinforcing items for them to sit and watch. So that was really helpful.
Yeah. And then in addition, we're going to go over some of the things in your carry-on bag that kept them busy. But in addition, you also need, diapers if your child is not potty trained yet. You need a change of clothes. If your child is like on the edge of potty training, you might want to just be like, hey, we're going to wear pull-ups on the plane just in case, like comfort items, blankets, sweats, comfy things, a toy, a stuffed animal if they're into that. And then so we can look at some of the things in your bag.
Yeah. And as far as diapers, we did overnight diapers for Ronan, because they're a little they can be saturated a little bit more. So those are really helpful, because changing a baby on an airplane is a nightmare. In the bathroom, they have like this little thing that flips down, and it's really hard to do. So
I've never seen a flip down thing.
Oh, so it's behind the toilet. It flips down. It eats up like most of the bathroom, and it is really hard to maneuver.
Especially with a 2-year-old
who like wants to wiggle and move. So we didn't use them this time, but when we had flown with Everett pre-COVID, he was a baby, and I had to change him a couple of times, and it was awful.
I
So
didn't even know there was a thing.
I did
Now we
everything I
get a
could do.
bathroom in the airport, in the plane. I'll look for that
Yep, it's
little
like behind it flips down.
okay. Makes
So it's,
sense. Makes
yeah, it's
sense.
not
Good to
fun.
know. I'm learning a bunch of different things.
Yeah, there you go. So
I'm ready to travel with a baby.
I was gonna say you'll be ready. So a couple of things that we had that were really helpful are these water wow. So this is Melissa and Doug, but a bunch of different places make them, or like Crayola Color Wonder, where they only color on the surface that you're like wanting them to color on. So we filled these beforehand, and the boys could sit, and of course it's like not doing it right now, but the boys could sit and color. Ronan really had a good time. Everett was a little more enthralled with the electronics, so he was a little bit easier to keep. But the 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, who was like, I want to move, I had to switch things up for him more frequently. So this was really helpful. We had a few of these that he could kind of color.
That's water wow
Water
activity.
wow.
That's okay.
Yep.
And then Color Wonder, we've used that. They've been around a long time.
Yeah, and it's so nice to use because they also have like the dollar store has Imagine Ink, which is their brand. It's the same thing. It's really nice to use because they can't color on anything else, and if they do swipe something else, it's not going to color on it. So like as a parent, it gives you a little more reassurance. Ronan is very into cars, so I went and bought a few like at the dollar store these Hot Wheel cars, so they were new and he could open them. So that was exciting because he'd have a new car to play with. We also used a busy book. So if you like Google busy books or on Amazon busy books, and this one had like all kinds of buckles. I was amazed. He sat and did the buckles for like hours between that, when we add up all the time he did it on the plane, and he loved it. And it's really good for like his motor skills, and there's, buckles on the other side. And then this one also has, colors and shapes. And so he was having a great time. And then it has like its own, this one has like a slide out board. He could kind of decorate however he wanted. And that was really awesome to have. He spent a lot more time doing this than I thought he would. It was like a last minute grab. So I'm glad I did that. We also had like little like Play-Doh packs that they could play with. That was another like dollar store find or Dollar General find, where it comes with like a few little things of Play-Doh. It had like a cutter and like a little press and shapes, and they loved it. We also, for Everett, to keep him a little more entertained, he's a little more into like games. So we got these little travel size games that we could just flip down the little like tray in front of you and play. So that was fun. We have like a memory one. We have like a little with the game Trouble. So those were really helpful to have. And then I just had an entire bag of, crayons and different coloring books that they're into. So Ronan's really into like construction vehicles. So I had a whole big one on that. Just all kinds of stickers. Another really cool one, I don't have any because we used them all, but window clings, because we had a window seat. So they could like put the window clings on the window and take them off, and it doesn't hurt anything, and they had fun doing it. So that was cool.
There's also things called Magnetiles that are really fun. And Kelsey and I did a episode pretty recently on toys, so we can link that in the show notes. We can also link the episodes on desensitization in the show notes as well. Finally, somebody suggested Mother Could on Instagram. I just checked her site last night, and she has like 1.4 million followers. So while you're over on Instagram, finding Mother Could all together. Also search Turn Autism Around and give us some love over there on Instagram and anywhere else you are at. But the Mother Could site by Miriam Sandler does have some travel tips and just activities. And then you have the activities too, wherever you are on your trip. There's going to be time when you're not at a theme park or you're not in the ocean. And then you'll also have some activities to keep your kids busy during that downtime. Or if you're eating at restaurants, you can grab a couple things. So this isn't just for plane travel either. If you want to get out in the community more, you have to think reinforcement. You have to think keeping kids busy with exciting activities that's going to really, light them up and make them excited, like $1 for a car, or this this activity book is not just good on planes. It's good for when we have to keep kids busy anywhere.
Absolutely. I call it our Barney bag. And my husband and I each have one in our cars, so that if we do an impromptu stop at a restaurant or, trip somewhere, it's nice that we know that we're already prepared ahead of time. So, you buy these things for a trip, but really we're using them all the time. So it was definitely worth the investment.
And Rachel, besides being a mom of 2 kids and our program director, also has a master's in special education. So she looks like a superstar here because she is one, and she also has all the background as a teacher. And you even told me stories of another child behind you crying and not having the prepared parent, and you were able to offer them some things to keep that child busy as well. So I think we are, towards the end, I think this is a great episode to really give people some practical strategies to prepare for any trips in the future and to prepare to keep their kids, whether they're typically developing, children with delays, or kids with autism. Our job is to keep them engaged as much as possible. And for trips on planes and trains and automobiles, it can be extra tricky, especially if you don't do the planning like Rachel outlined here. So hopefully that helps, and we will catch you next time, same place.